of service in UMTS, but it's not really working as you might expect it. You have 4 classes of quality of service. The conversational class for really high priority data with guarantees. But as you can see, 80 milliseconds isn't really fast. And this is the best class in UMTS. There's a streaming class, a bit more delay. Then the last 2 classes have no guarantees, it's just priority. They are more or less for normal web browsing or background services like email, FTP, and so on. This would be nice to have, at least some of the classes, but your PDP context has only one quality of service indication. So when you want to have more than one quality of service, you might, when you do multimedia streaming also, it would be nice to send some packages or some frames of the streaming, the high priority and all the not so important frames with a lower priority. And this would be very nice to have, but it's not possible with UMTS because you have only one context. You could have more than one context, but as far as I know, no vendor of mobile phone does this support today. Another thing is the quality of service is only supported within UMTS. There are no ways to indicate the quality of service level to the normal internet or other networks, because the UMTS will reclassify all packets who come in or go out with the quality of service level you have in your PDP context. Also, this means all diserved tags or type of service or class of service tags in your IP packets will be deleted. If you look at the standard, you will see a round trip time in UTRAN of about 120 milliseconds and in the core network of 20 seconds. This is really slow and will have a deep impact on the slow start phase of TCP. When you start downloading, it will be really, really slow and it will take a long time for the TCP session to get to a higher speed. And when you lose some packets, it will also take a long time to get a retransmission of these packets. So most of the time, the UMTS won't give you any data because it's waiting for timeouts or something else. Okay, this to quality of service. Another interesting thing we found is charging within UMTS. Most vendors think it's not longer enough to only pay for using the service or to have a flat rate or to have the old local call and faraway call distinction. They want to have a sophisticated billing system and want to, let you pay for more or less every bit you transmit. This means sooner or later you will have the possibility to send voice over IP over your UMTS telephone, but it will cost you a lot more than just sending an email or something else. So far, the theory of the vendors. There are a lot of possibilities to get to your money. But at the moment, the charging is limited to the PTP context. If you have one PTP context and you send 1 megabyte of data, you will have to pay for 1 megabyte of data. It's not important what kind of data you are sending. But this new concept is called IP flow analysis, and it will base on different the types of data. This can be, if you look into the standard, for example, URLs. Also Microsoft.com may be more expensive to view than ccc.de or so. Oh no, I don't think ccc.de would work. zip could be more expensive, port numbers could be more expensive. For example, using HTTPS could be more expensive than using HTTP. And another thing is the real IP flow analysis. When you think of peer-to-peer or internet games where you have a lot of open ports and a lot of different kind of data, you want to have some kind of aggregation of this data. So that you don't have more than 1,000 entries in the charging database, but only one. The amount of data is still a problem, and when you think of cheap providers like ePlus or so, they already give you a flat rate for GPS, and I think in the next days also for UMTS. This is not because they want to be nice to you, but they have a real problem with charging. But again, it's not really clear if it's in the future good for them to give you a flat rate, because they have to keep all your records anyway, because the law enforcement agencies of the European Union will force them to do so. So if they can keep your data anyway, they can also analyze your data and get more money from you for your transmissions. So conclusions for the part 1 of our lecture. The UMTS packet switch domain is far more complex than technologies you know, like WLAN or the upcoming WiMAX. The most interesting part for us is the GTSN, where packets can be filtered or charged or perhaps delayed. And with the upcoming IP multimedia subsystem or SACA subsystem, charging of individual IP flows will become of interest. I don't think in the next year to the soccer games in Germany, but perhaps in 2 or 3 years. And if they do so, we just want to have some fun with their doings and will analyze their doings today and have probably some fun with the hack value inside this IP flow analysis. So I'm ready with part 1, and I will give back to Daniel for the next part.
Yeah, the next part is get to know your network. We've got several devices for our research. First, these small HTC universal devices, which can handle UMTS quite well. And secondly, such a PCMCIA card, PC card from Vodafone. We paid for them. They did not give them for our researchers. And we had some plans to deal with ePlus in Germany also, but they were not able to deliver us a card in time, which means 3 months. Okay, let's start with Vodafone, which is formerly known as D2 in Germany. When you all set up your tunnel to the GGSN, you're part of an internal private network in a 10.0.0.0/8 network, and no IPv6 is available. They do network address translation, and you normally have an external IP which changes from time to time, but normally it's the given IP here at the moment. There are many transparent application layer proxies which interfere with your data, they transcode and resize and reshape, re-encode everything you see on screen. When you use that Vodafone card and use the software that comes with it, you, for example, you're seeing all pictures on websites in a really bad quality, and just when you reload several pictures or the pictures you want to see in better quality, you get a full detailed picture with full size, and then you are experiencing the real speed of UMTS, which is quite slow. My colleague told you about the slow start, which takes quite about 3 to 5 seconds, which is not enough for a 100 kilobyte image. So you're getting the image not in the high speed mode of your UMTS network, you're getting it really slow. In our measurements, we got over the 100 kilobyte per second, which we mostly arrive with cacheable data, for example, FTP or HTTP connections. So they are probably using transparent application layer proxies for this. And from time to time, you also get above that 100 kilobyte, but 100 kilobyte is known as the maximum speed you're getting when you're completely alone on such an access point, such an internet, such a point. On good links, so when you have full reception, full quality, your packet loss is up to 3%, which is not really good for TCP and not really good for the speed. As we told, 120 milliseconds for packet loss detection and resending is not included in this time. Will cause very long delays. In our measurements, from 293 milliseconds to 494 milliseconds, which is some kind of which sounds faster than you might think, but there are some measure points that are above 2 seconds, above 4 seconds, which come very often. There are some hints, some things that point us to packet filtering and delaying, because on some access points we used some ports were closed to the outside world, and even some ports were hardly delayed, more or less. IP packets with the record route enabled are dropped. No packet forwarding between the user equipment, which we did not really expected that they will allow us to communicate between the devices. But, well, could be fun if they would. DNS and TCP seems to have slightly higher priority. You can see it when just pinging UDP port 53, you get ping times from about 50 to 80 milliseconds when there's no packet loss. and pinging another UDP port, let's say 666, you get ping times from